Hello and welcome to today's Rocksmith developer stream. I'm your host Doug Lilly and the community developer for Rocksmith, and we are live, like actually live, at least partially, for the first time in a few weeks. So if you heard us chatting on the mic a little bit ago, don't worry about that. We're trying some things. We're working on some new additions to the stream. We're working on how we present the stream in this new environment. It's going to be an evolution. It's going to change over time. So please bear with us as we get through it. But thank you mostly for being here today, and welcome to the first post DLC Rocksmith developer stream. I'm sure most of you already saw or heard about the announcement that was posted last Friday that we're really excited about. Unfortunately, we can't say much more about it right now. Everything that we can say is in that article, but when we do have more to talk about, we'll make sure to let everyone know in as many channels as possible. So don't worry about that. Today, we're going to have some music. Gryffindor Chick was able to provide us with a couple of playthroughs, so we're going to take a look at that. As always, we're going to have prizes, including 2 Ernie Ball prize packs and a song pack that we're going to give away a few copies of. That's all coming up right now. And for the first kind of new stage of the Rocksmith stream, I would like to welcome a couple of guests. We're going to have some chat. So very happy to welcome Chris Wu and Brian Shu. Chris Wu, as you probably remember, is the Senior International Product Manager for Rocksmith, and Brian Shu is a musical content developer here in the studio. So welcome, Brian and Chris.
Thanks for having us, Doug.
Hello. So yeah, what's going on here? Well, I haven't been able to talk to these people during the stream for a few weeks live. So I wanted to have some chat. We're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about mostly, well, we're going to about music. We're talking about playing music, listening to music for a few minutes, and we're going to take your questions like usual. Brian Turner, that's UB Jurassic, he is in the chat there with you, and he is going to take your questions from the chat, send them on us, and we will answer what we can as we can. So first off, yeah, again, welcome, Brian and Chris. How are you doing?
Sheltered in place for almost a full month now. We're coming up on a month, and when we're still doing this until May now, I believe, in San Francisco. In California as a whole, I'm not even sure if they put a date in place. So I think everyone's
been pushed back.
Yeah, it's been pushed back. We're all getting used to this work from home, but it's nice to get a chance to do something live. I know we've really liked the reception to the pre-recorded streams, so. Of course, Doug, we will still keep bringing that kind of content, but it's nice to be able to do some live interaction with like the chat and things like that.
With the chat and with each other.
It's really nice. No, not so much. Don't want to interact with you, Doug.
What about Brian Shu?
I'm doing good. Just getting some work done at home is nice. I don't know if most people knew, but I was commuting from San Jose to San Francisco every day.
Which was like hour and a half, 3 hours.
I would leave my house at 7 and make it to the office at like 9:30. So it's pretty brutal at times.
That's a commute.
But at the same time, I'm waking up every morning and I'm like, man, I kind of want to go to San Francisco. I want to go into the office. I think for me, I really enjoy a change in routine more than anything.
Yeah.
Once I'm doing the same thing every day, then I get real bored of it real fast. So
Sure.
Yeah, kind of going a little stir crazy, but it's fine.
At least starting to blend in.
Yeah, but at least friends and family are safe and stuff like that. So I'm just thankful for that.
Yeah, this is a nice change of pace too, from the usual to be able to talk with everyone and stuff. That helps in making this a little bit more varied.
Right. So let's talk about some music. I prepped you a little bit about what we're going to talk about, secret behind the scenes action. So first off, you've been home for a few weeks. What have you been listening to lately?
Want to go first, Chris?
Yeah, sure. The thing I think I'll spotlight, it's not like necessarily a particular artist or album or even like an officially recorded song, but one thing that I saw on the internet that I quite liked was Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears playing a cover of Mad World with his daughter, which was posted to YouTube. If any of you follow on the Rocksmith Discord channel, which you'll find a link to on the Rocksmith subreddit, I also shared it there in the music channel. But it's just a really nice acoustic cover in the style of the Gary Jules cover of Mad World, and
Yeah.
I like it because it's a great example of taking music and making it your own from someone who did just that same thing to Kurt Smith's original song. So it's
Right.
really interesting, and it's like the kind of thing that it's cool to see people doing in this time where they have maybe more time to explore music than they previously had, and especially like musicians and are finding new ways to perform for their fans because they
Yeah.
can't play live shows and stuff, and they get to spend more time with their family. So it's just a great
Right.
little encapsulation of all that stuff. So you guys should check it out, and encourage you to do the same thing with other songs. Like we have like other songs in Rocksmith. Also, we have some Tears for Fears. Maybe learn that in Rocksmith and come up with your own acoustic take on it.
And Brian Shu, what about yourself?
I've been listening. This might surprise a lot of people, but I've actually been listening to a lot of Eminem recently.
Okay. All right.
That was good.
Yeah. Well,
new stuff, old stuff.
Some of the newer stuff. I was listening to his last album as well as Kamikaze, and the thing that, like, not only is he an amazing MC, I think you can actually, as an instrumentalist, take a lot from the way that he phrases his verses and the way that he actually articulates his flow and where he places rhymes, because that kind of rhythm, let's say as a soloist or a lead player, if I'm playing a lot of like 16th notes, well, how can you make that more interesting? Well, you can kind of study the way that guys like Eminem will articulate between really fast verses, and it's kind of like almost like how a sax player would approach playing bebop, because when you listen to a lot of bebop phrases, there's a lot of like peaks and valleys, and the way that they'll accentuate certain lines or arpeggios via groupings of notes, like maybe groups of 3, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's very similar to the way that, listening to a rapper, like how they would phrase things.
I remember back in the Encore where we talked about songwriting a bit, Andrew, I believe, brought up the idea of motifs and having sort of anchor melodies. Would you see the same thing in a lot of hip hop, where you have sort of rhythmic anchors that return? Do you kind of come back to as a home base?
You could. I mean, I guess motifs are more like if you're repeating rhythmic phrases and groupings of notes. Motifs are like, I guess, would be like a hook, and then kind of repeating the idea over and over again, and then kind of developing that idea. Though you can, there are some instances of just during the normal verses where you can kind of hear him doing that, where it's like maybe that's what the rhymes are.
Oh, right. So
like where he's placing the rhymes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and how he develops those rhymes, because when you look at Eminem's verses, they're very complex, actually. If you just look at a paragraph of words, you're like, whoa, he's placing rhymes in places that I didn't know you could do that. Or like he's actually finding ways to rhyme words that I would never think to rhyme with this other word.
Right.
Have you seen his video where he talks about rhyming with orange? It's like an older interview.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I think the favorite one that he uses as an example for me is a door hinge to rhyme with orange.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff good. I'm talking about.
Yeah, you go into slant rhymes, and the world is sort of your orange, I guess.
Yeah, that's how that saying goes.
Yeah, it's close enough. You mentioned, Chris, earlier posting something in the music channel on the Discord. I posted something as well. I don't know if they're still looking at it, but Red Fang on Instagram, maybe a week or two ago, is looking for people to submit their own like Red Fang riffs, and he played one as an example. So if anybody out there wants to send Red Fang some of your Red Fangiest riffs, I believe that door is still open. If you check on Instagram.
If you want to mention why Red Fang is significant, is because they have songs in Rocksmith.
Yeah. 13 and Wires are available in there. They're a couple of my favorites personally to play, which is, I guess, is why I posted them on there. Um, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, since we're talking about hip hop anyway, Chris Wu, you're the person who sort of introduced me generally to the idea of Bay Area hip hop.
Wait, really? I'm
yeah,
unaware of the fact that I actually was the one who introduced you to the idea of Bay Area hip hop.
Yeah, I never considered, regional subgenres of music as
Okay.
a thing, and that is just, it was an idea that hadn't really come to me because I'm from the East Coast, and for the most of my life been on the East Coast, so I didn't know it was a thing. So tell us about Bay Area hip hop. What are the features besides being from the Bay Area and being hip hop? What are sort of the common connections?
You have made me out to be some kind of Bay Area hip hop expert when that is not the case.
You're as amongst the people that I know, you're it, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I can. So the most prominent person I think that came out of Bay Area hip hop is probably E40, like who typifies like the Bay Area hip hop movement. You know what? Andrew Levin would actually probably be able to talk about this.
Andrew's the person to talk about this.
But his song "Tell Me When to Go" probably got some of the most mainstream play. The hyphy movement, that was the whole Bay Area hip hop movement.
David Stevens in the chat said that Sharon is actually the person.
Oh, Sharon,
Sharon would know. Yeah,
chime in on this. Who else? I like Del the Funky Homo Sapien.
Sure.
I think he's Bay Area. Hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
They're a good local group. Some pretty good songs. Like
is that what David Stevens' screen name is based on?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
But I see Dan chiming in with the love for Dell and Hyro. And in fact, there have been local Hyro fests in Oakland, that free music festivals in the past.
All right.
Worth checking out. But yeah, there's a lot of regional music. It's not just Bay Area that has their own hip hop scene. Like the South has a very clear Southern rap and hip hop scene and things like that.
Outkast, Nappy Roots.
Yeah, nowadays I think Migos is pretty typical of that Southern triplet style rap. The video I saw
watch me only reference people from like 2004 and before. Yeah, sorry.
I saw a great video of someone reading "There's a Walk-It in My Pocket" in the style of Migos on YouTube.
Okay.
So really good flow. Actually, the whole Dr. Seuss over rap beats. I also if you count that as music, I was watching a couple of those videos and it goes together like real well, like surprisingly well.
Okay, cool.
Check that out. The Fox and the Lorax. There's this guy who does them over Dre beats. It's real good.
There's a drummer that I know. This was a concept that came around a few years ago, but I know there's a drummer who I think started the idea where he would take television shows and play drums over top of conversation dialogue in television shows, and it's really kind of hypnotic, and you really find the rhythm just in conversation, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Like when someone talks fast, it'll be like da 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 da, and stuff like that.
My favorite is there's It's Always Sunny one.
It's really apparent when you look at listen to comedy, or like even just stand up in general. Like,
dude, I'm telling you, the one thing we should have put an hour long like comedy set, and then charted the bass for it, just a walking bass line the whole time for like Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah. Well, he did that. He had a bassist play for him. And he did a set. Yeah, that's. I know a lot of voice actors for like mostly animation will also make sure to kind of vary the rhythm, vary the pitch to make it more musical. Each character sort of plays or speaks in its own scale almost. Like there are certain ranges and intervals that specific characters might hit, which I think is an interesting way to sort of add musicality to other art forms.
We have a voice acting expert also if we ever wanted to bring one on, in Arthur.
Okay. See, we got plans for the future already. Speaking of the future, I think it's time for an Ernie Ball prize pack giveaway. What do you say? You don't have a choice. We're just going to do it. We're just going to do it anyway. I'm pretending that I'm giving you the illusion of choice and then immediately stripping it away. But right now, if you watch in the chat, we are going to give away our first of 2 Ernie Ball prize packs. So if you enter and win, you can see everything that is on your screen now that it's 2 sets of strings. That's 1 6-string set for your guitar, 1 4-string set for your bass. It's going to be a dozen picks from Ernie Ball plus 3 Spectrum Plectrum picks from us here at Rocksmith, a black Ernie Ball guitar strap, a package of Ernie Ball Wonder Wipes, and a peg winder. All of that can be yours eventually. Again, once we get back to the office, that's when these are all going to get shipped. So there's going to be a sort of massive wave of giveaways that go out once we are back in the studio. Until then, we're keeping your information tight. Speaking of information, if you win, you're going to get a whisper from Brian Turner. He will get your name, your shipping address, and your telephone number. As always, we do need all of that information in order to get your prize to you. So good luck in entering that prize. And right now, we are going to take a visit to Gryffindor Chick. So Gryffindor Chick, that is Steph. She streams Rocksmith pretty regularly, and she took on a couple songs. We're going to watch one of those right now, followed by our very own Brian Shu giving another lick of the week. So please, good luck on the raffle and enjoy.
Hey guys, it's Gryffindor Chick. If you don't know me, I am a Rocksmith bass player who typically plays Rocksmith on Thursdays and Fridays, but you can catch me typically between Tuesday and Friday at twitch.tv/GryffindorChick. Today I will be playing 2 selections from Rocksmith's freaking huge collection. I am going to be playing Cerise by Ghost and Bang Bang by Green Day. So that song, I don't know how many times I've played it, but every single time I just lose myself in that last half of the song. I'm sure that you guys can kind of tell. But I love Ghost. Cerise is fucking great. Its melody is just amazing. And technically, it is kind of a challenging bass line, but if you have been playing bass for a while and you do kind of sit down and break it apart to just kind of understand the different parts, all of it flows together and it just sounds so good. High praises for this chart, high praises for Ghost, and on to the next one.
What up, y'all? It's Brian again with the lick of the week. And this week we're going to be doing not a lick, but more of an embellishment to spice up your playing a little bit. We're going to be doing things in the key of A minor, the A minor pentatonic scale again. If you don't know what that is, look it up, learn it. So a lot of beginners to lead playing and just improvisation in general will know how to kind of run up and down the scale and, maybe have a couple of basic bends and rock licks in their arsenal, stuff like. But you can do a lot of things to kind of personalize your bending. And one of the things you can do is combine it with some slides. And so, for example, let's take the 7th fret of the G string, and we're going to bend that up a whole step. And then what we're going to do is, as we're bending down, we're going to slide up very quickly up to the 8th fret, which is the blues note, and then back down. So altogether, it kind of sounds like this. And to complete a phrase, I'm going to play the 5th fret of that same string, and then resolve it with an A, which is the 7th fret on the D string. And together, that all sounds like this. It's really cool. So you have your rock lick. Already sounds awesome when you combine all of that together. And you can do that kind of in a lot of different places too. You don't just need to bend that note. You can literally bend any note and do that in the scale. And so let's take the 7th fret on the E string. And you can slide up to the 8th fret, back down, and then hit that A. You can do the same thing on the B string. If you bend the 7th fret, you get more of a Dorian sound, A minor Dorian, which is a really cool sound. You can even bend or slide into wrong notes. Let's say I bend the 8th fret up a whole step. I'm going to slide up to the 9th fret of the E string, which is technically a wrong note. Come back down to the 8th fret and then hit that A, resolve it. So it sounds like this. Really cool. Let's do the next string. Cool. You can even do it with other fingers, like so there's a lot of stuff you can do with that, especially if you know the pentatonic scale pretty well across the neck, if you can kind of move around, all over the place. Try doing something like this where you go all the way down. So, really cool sound. Try it out, and see you next time.
Hey guys, it's Gryffindor Chick. If you don't know me, I am a Rocksmith bass player.
And welcome back. Sorry, I was hearing things that didn't exist. We are back live, and I unmuted my own Twitch to listen to Steph and Brian. My mistake. Sorry, we're live, and right now we are going to have a giveaway. We're going to give away 5 copies of the Stone Sour Song Pack on Steam. So if you're in chat and you want to win one of 5 copies of the Stone Sour Song Pack, please listen to UB Jurassic right now to find out how you can win. While I'm here, I want to thank once more Brian Shu for another Lick of the Week, which we'll talk a little bit about when we return. And I want to thank Steph, that is Gryffindor Chick, very much for bringing us a couple of songs. She can be found at Gryffindor Chick on Twitch. I'm sure once the raffle is over, we'll pop that name up a few times. And I did ask, and in that song, in Ghost Cerise or Cersei, it's pronounced differently every time I say it. It's fine. Well, it's fine for me. They might not appreciate it. And if that's the case, I apologize, Ghost. But she was playing the Rondo SX vintage bass on that one. Coming up right now, we've got another song from Gryffindor Chick. After we see Steph, we will visit Dan once more, who, by the way, is running the board for us remotely. It's a very strange setup for a live stream, but he's doing a great job of it. So thank you, Dan Amrick, for leading us through this. Raffle's still going on for one of 5 copies of Stone Sour. And here, once more, is Gryffindor Chick.
So what you guys just saw there was an amalgamation of different patterns and just at a crazy speed, which is pretty, okay for Green Day. I mean, it's pretty standard for them. So I definitely also couldn't not have a Green Day song in my section because it is a staple of my stream. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to catch you guys again at twitch.tv/GryffindorChick and enjoy the rest of the Rocksmith stream ahead.
Hey everybody, Dan Emmerich here with another edition of Guitar Show and Tell. Today I have something that I'm doing by request, and it's sort of an extension of the previous thing that we did about that ultimate guitar that we're all looking for, right? Of course, from a manufacturing point of view, you start thinking, how could I design a guitar that does everything for everybody? If you want an acoustic guitar, but you also want an electric guitar, and you want that in one guitar, what do you do? Well, for me, the answer was what Taylor came up with. I'm a big fan of Taylor guitars in Southern California, and they are traditionally known as an acoustic manufacturer. They got into the electric business with the T5. Now, the T5 is actually not an acoustic guitar, but it's hard not to think of it as one. It's what you would call a hybrid guitar. This is a very thin line electric guitar, fully hollow. There is no center block the way that there would be in like a Gibson 335. This has more structurally in common with the old Gretsch 6120s, the big hollow body rockabilly guitars or jazz guitars you might see. But of course it's super thin. Now as you can see from just looking at the front, this has 3 pickups in it. So only the bridge humbucker is visible. This is a traditional sort of stacked bridge humbucker, so you can get very good rock bridge tones out of it. There's also a neck pickup hidden behind the neck joint. And then in addition to that, there's a body sensor that helps you pick up more acoustic tones. So if you are trying to get on stage or in the recording studio a controlled acoustic sound with something that feels comfortable and plays and weighs like an electric, that's what this was designed to do. Most of the time, I admit that I do use it as sort of like a fake acoustic guitar. The neck plus the body sensor, there's no just body sensor to it, does give you a nice, warm, acoustic-y sound. There's a little bit of an electric snap to it there, but of course you can roll on the EQ, you can put up more bass and get a little bit more presence in the body. But that does pretty good for strumming. But if I slide the 5-way selector switch, which 4 of those selections have the neck humbucker in the circuit regardless, but strangely on this guitar, the middle is actually the bridge humbucker. That will give me just the bridge humbucker. And you might not be able to tell there, but if you start kicking on a little bit of dirt and some compression, you can get all the drive that you want out of it. So this actually has become my sort of songwriting partner. I like to write songs on this guitar. The neck is impossibly thin. It's a beautiful Taylor neck. They're famous for their neck profile. Also, the back of the neck this is a bolt-on guitar, so it is still like a bolt-on electric, but it's a very unusual one. Taylor has its own bolt-on technology called NT, which stood for New Technology, and it is a single bolt in the middle that can pivot, and you can adjust the neck angle. Apparently it's very easy if you know what you're doing. I have never needed to adjust the neck angle, so I've never monkeyed with it. This is also the guitar that got me into playing 11s. This came stock with 11s, and I found that I really liked the string tension. I liked the way that my hands felt on 11s. So I changed all my guitars to 11s thanks to the T5. So as you can see, master volume, bass and treble, so you can do a little onboard EQ. There is a battery in the back, of course, so it is an active guitar. You can't leave it plugged in or else it will drain the battery. But for what it is, I've used it on stage. It's very, very good as sort of like a quick and dirty acoustic without any of the problems that you would normally have with a larger bodied instrument or something that's a little bit more sensitive. What it will do is feedback like crazy if you want it to do that. If you crank the gain on your amp or through pedals, this being a fully hollow body with a spruce top, I believe, absolutely will feed back. So if you're looking for that cool Hendrixy vibe and playing and then having it feedback on you, this is one way to get that. It's the only guitar in my collection that actually does feedback when I want it to feedback and not when I don't. So that's the Taylor T5. More weird guitars probably coming in future segments. But until then, thanks for tuning in. Keep playing guitar and be safe out there.
And welcome back to the live portion of the Rocksmith developer stream. I remain your host and community developer for Rocksmith, Doug Lilly. Thank you so much for being here. Before we resume our conversation with Chris Wu and Brian Shu, I want to thank Dan Emmerich for that segment, showing with his guitar show and tell, and for running the board, the sort of remote board for today's stream. Thank you, Dan. If you're just joining us, today is a mix of live and pre-recorded. So all the conversation, this right now, that's happening live with performance. We just had a couple of performances from Gryffindor Chick. That's Steph. She is on Twitch. She streams regularly. If you saw her, you heard that bassly tone that she gets, and it's really all about the rhythm right now. So thank you again, Gryffindor Chick. Gryffindor Chick did get to visit the studio a couple of years ago as part of the Backstage Pass program. So it was really nice to be able to work with her again, and I hope we see her around some more. And make sure you check her out. Give her a follow. She is Gryffindor Chick on Twitch. I'm sure that is being posted in the chat right now. So thank you, Steph. Let's say hello once more to our guests. This is Brian Shu and Chris Wu. Chris Wu, you are the Senior International Product Manager. Brian Shu, you are a musical content developer, which is a fun new title to say. So welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the chat. How you doing? I asked you that.
Yeah, those are some great videos. Enjoyed seeing Dan talk.
Yeah, always. And the people love it.
Beautiful guitar also. It really is.
Yeah.
We were all
really
talking
cool.
about how nice it was also.
We in the chat the past couple weeks, I did see some people asking for more bass on the performances, and Steph filled that role quite nicely. So thanks again for that.
Nice.
Brian Shu, you were talking about. We had a question about the blue note. What's the blue note? How do you find it? How do you use it? Where did it come from?
Well, the blue note is traditionally the flat 5 scale degree in a pentatonic scale, minor pentatonic. So in minor pentatonic, we got 5 notes, right? And then the intervals are as follows. It's the root, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, and then the octave of the root. So 5 notes. The flat 5 or blues note is that note. So it's like this little chromatic passing tone between the 4th and the 5th scale degree. And that kind of gets you the really nice, that gives you the blues sound. It also gets you kind of like, if you just want to play between the root and the flat 5, you can also get some like kind of Black Sabbath-esque
the tritone.
Tritones, yeah. It's also the tritone.
So it shows up in a lot of contemporary music, from blues through Black Sabbath was a blues band, right?
Yeah.
Before they developed that heavier sound. So that makes sense that they drew that blue note, which really somebody just leaning onto it and just staying there is one of my favorite things in the world.
So when we were talking about like things like the flat 5, or like when we're calling notes by numbers, we're usually referring to intervals related to the root of whatever key or scale we're talking about.
So the root would just be the first note of the scale, and then the 5th would be 5 intervals, whether half steps or whole steps away from that.
Right, and
depending
there's
on
like depending on like there's a very specific set of whole steps and half steps for minor scales, and same thing for major scales and pentatonic scale. Any kind of scale, there's kind of a formula for it.
Okay. Had a question from the chat. This was from I believe Tone Wolf Theo. Wanted to know what our favorite DLC was for 2014. Now that we're sort of through that process. Or if you just want to say kind of what you've maybe spent the most time with
Yeah, I'm probably most proud of. I don't know. Can they hear the ghost of Dan?
I don't know. I don't know if they can tell that you're being fed lines right now.
Well, no, yeah, I was actually about to say that, but Wes Montgomery's probably the one that I'm most proud of, just because it was really difficult and took a lot of time, and I really wanted to do it right and do Wes Montgomery justice. But I felt kind of the same way whenever I got fed some legendary guitar player track or something like
Sure.
Texas Flood, for example, or anything like that. I really tried to get it as right as I could.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Chris Wu, how about yourself?
So obviously I didn't track any DLC songs specifically in my role, but if I had to choose 3 packs that I think, I mean, it's a group effort, but I am also involved in like part of the selection process, as are many people in the studio. But 3 that I think I was especially influential in pushing or suggesting was number 1, the Cake song pack, just because I really like Cake. So that's a great like song pack.
Don't we all?
There's still songs I wish we could add. Awesome bass lines also, and just great songs all around.
Yeah.
I also pitched the Pro Skater pack.
Skater Rock song pack.
Yes.
Skater Rock song pack.
Not quite professional. I'll take that back. Amateur Skater Rock song pack, which I had pitched, and it actually took a couple of years for that to come to fruition.
That was a good pack.
With all the licensing,
fun
but
pack.
I think that was a very, very fun pack.
Yeah.
Superman's a great track.
I wanted to say, other than the difficult stuff that I felt good about note tracking, like some of the more fun note tracks of tunes that I grew up with include like the 2 Goldfinger tunes we have, 99 Red Balloons and Superman.
Yeah.
I think we have both of those, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Yes.
we do.
we do.
Yeah, 99 Red Balloons in particular was super fun to track for me and play. It's just a good one.
And for me, obviously, I don't track anything either. Did you get muted, or did I just cut you off? Okay, good.
No, it's all good.
I think my go-to for bass is "I Appear Missing" by Queens of the Stone Age. It's just it constantly moves. It has a lot of really interesting patterns, and again, the rhythmic variations are a lot of fun for me. And lately, I've been playing a lot of Crowbot, which is a name that I heard first from this community, from the Rocksmith community, after I started working as community manager back in North Carolina. But I really only sort of explored that pack recently, like within this past year, and it's been in heavy rotation. It's got everything. That pentatonic playground that I love so much. You just get to play in that, and it's so much fun. Also, I've been spending a lot of time with the Pretty Reckless song pack. I think both of those, because I'm spending a lot of time in sort of E flat or E flat drop D flat, and they're just really they sort of scratch a lot of those itches with the just fun riffs or the pentatonic canoodling, I suppose. So that's I think where I've been with some of those tracks.
I think Crowbot's a common one that you see a lot of like Rocksmith players of saying like, oh, like, thank you for introducing me to this band. Another one I see a lot that seems worthwhile to mention is Biffy Clyro. I see a fair amount of folks who get introduced to Biffy Clyro because we put out some DLC. Happens also with Billy Talent. If you're not Canadian, they're not as big outside of Canada.
Right.
But I know David Stevens has often talked about how Rocksmith introduced him to Billy Talent, and I think he's about that.
Cool.
Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I'm gonna put you out there as being
checking the
about
chat.
that Billy Talent.
Jared likes it.
Hell yeah, Billy Talent. There we go. Yeah.
Philip Stace was brought up by Zagadozi. That's another fun blues, just playing around with that pentatonic. And you got the sort of riffs like you would. It's got a bit of everything. And I think that one might also be in E flat or D. I'm not sure. Anyway, had a question for Brian Chu. Actually, I wanted to talk about, right now we're sort of doing a sort of hybrid podcast situation, I guess, where we're chatting with each other and bringing in the community. But there's someone else that we know who's been doing a podcast, and that is Sam Schwartz. He's been doing a podcast for a couple months now, sitting in with Sam, and Brian Chu you've been on that podcast a couple times, right?
No, just once.
Just
I
once?
think just once, and then he took whatever extras
Okay.
we were talking about and
Okay.
just like put that out as a fun extra tidbit
So
thing.
what's so if people are looking for a podcast to while away some hours, what does he talk about on his podcast?
Well, it's really cool. His whole concept is talking to musicians in California, the Bay specifically. Just anyone kind of making their lives as a professional musician. So of course that included myself, some musicians that he grew up with, maybe some I don't know his guests personally, but
Right.
you know, some teachers and stuff like that. And you know, they just talk about things like business, things like just music, philosophy.
Sure.
It's really cool. It's a lot of good stuff on there.
I dropped a Spotify link in the chat. That again is Sitting In with Sam, if you want to find that outside of Spotify, but it's in the chat right now. If you're
He is not currently in the Twitch chat, but when he's on, he is Strong Zen Sam. If he joins us in the future, and if you see him and you listen to the podcast, feel free to mention that to him. I'm sure he'd appreciate it.
Sure. I get another question from Zagato Z asking if we were able to grab our office guitars before we left. I didn't bring any guitars personally back from the office. I've just got the ones that I already had here. The one that I named after Dan, which I'm sure he...
The trash guitar?
Yeah. That one is still there. I didn't bring any others back with me. Did you have any guitars at the office that you happened to grab that were yours?
Me?
Who are you talking to?
Anybody that had guitars in the office.
I
either of you. There's only two of you. I'm talking to either one of you.
I left one of my guitars there, but just mostly because I didn't have that much room in my room. I don't want to, bother my folks by having too much junk around.
I have two guitars still in the studio. I had taken a scheduled work from home day pretty much the day the order came out to stay at home, and I have instruments at home, so if I need them, like I do have guitars handy.
Sure.
But if anything, I feel sadder about my plant, which is in the office.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be.
It's a succulent though, so fingers crossed. It's it's gonna have to do some. It's gonna have to pull through.
You'll have to water it once, and it'll kind of plump up a little bit.
Yeah. Here's hoping.
Well, good luck with your plant. And I think that's going to about do us. I hope everybody is enjoying this new format, or at least the direction of this new format. Again, as I said earlier, this is probably going to change over time, but we are listening to your suggestions. As always, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Rocksmith Game. We're on Facebook.com/Rocksmith and our forums at Rocksmith.com. Just look for the forum link there. I want to thank our two guests who were here in the live chat with me today, Brian Chu and Chris Wu. Brian Chu once more for setting us up with another lick of the week. I want to say riff of the week every time. Chris, so thank you both. Chris, when are you doing a segment?
Depends on what the segment is. It should it should just be like, pick a DLC video, and I'll be like, oh, let me tell you about how annoying this was to time
history of DLC
video. A segment on Bay Area hip hop.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I've been pushing for it this whole time. I also want to thank Dan Emmerich for his segment, for his guitar show and tell, as well as for making sure that the stream went out live at all. So thank you, Dan, for that. Thank you, UB Jurassic, for hosting the raffles and getting questions to us. And especially thank you to Gryffindor Chick. Please give her a follow here on Twitch. She is at Gryffindor Chick. Again, that'll probably be in the chat as I say those words. And yeah, thank you especially for being here. We've got one more raffle we're going to do right now. So say goodbye to Brian and Chris. We'll see you both very soon. But for everybody else in the chat right now, if you want a chance to win everything that you see or are about to see, everything that you see on your screen, please listen to UB Jurassic for your instructions. You'll get 2 sets of strings, a dozen picks from Ernie Ball plus 3 from us. You're going to get the black Rocksmith strap, the black Ernie Ball guitar strap, a package of Ernie Ball Wonder Wipes, and a peg winder. All of that from Ernie Ball. If you win, Brian Turner, that's you, Jurassic, will reach out to get your name, your shipping address, and your telephone number. We need all that information. We will, once we get back into the studio and are able to ship these out, we will ship internationally. Just please make sure you break up your address line by line so that I can get that out accurately and efficiently. Thank you all once more for being here. Let us know how you like the stream. You've seen all of our social media, so we're out there, and we will be back next week with another stream. So thank you and goodbye.